Hi, everyone. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. We are talking Summer House, the aftermath. You know, it was more like a crap show, to be quite honest, because we know in real time what's really going on here, right? I mean, don't you agree? Well, we're still going to get into it. Before we do, while you're joining, make sure you like this video, follow me here on TikTok, and don't forget to go over to YouTube, Breaking the Dish at YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the podcasts or tea that I deliver. You know, I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, I knew there were sit-downs happening, but I think this just made me even more frustrated, to be quite honest. I mean, if the reunion wasn't bad enough, now we have the aftermath. But let's get into it, shall we? So, Amanda comes over and visits Lindsay. And Lindsay says, you know, over the years, we have had our ups and downs in our friendship. She's like, but, you know, we this last year or two, you know, we've become pretty close. And I think you need a big sister right now. Boy, does she ever. She says no one in your life is giving you the hard truth, like tough love. And she says, have you watched the episodes? Now, I want to remind you that this part of the aftermath was filmed 20 days after the reunion. 20 days after the reunion. And do you know what Amanda said? No, I haven't. She goes on to this big thing of, you know, that she came off the internet and, you know, she made the decision for herself, for her mental health. What does that have to do with watching the episodes? The episodes aren't on the internet. They're on Bravo and Peacock. Hello? Ooh, frustrating, right? Then Lindsay says, you and Wes made an adult decision and now you have to deal with the consequences and you can't pretend it didn't happen. You know what? That's what we give Lindsay right there. They do need to deal with the consequences and pretend like it didn't happen. I feel like they flew off to Italy and was like, yeah, we're not going to be bothered with that. We're just going to live our life. Like, the reunion didn't show that. And then she says, sorry about that. And then she says, Lindsay says, you know, well, Amanda first says, you know, she's still whining. Like she was in this crappy relationship. She lost herself. She didn't recognize herself. Finally, she was going out. She was going out with Wes's friends. She felt like she was in her 20s again. And she found herself. And she was no longer lost. And it was like a euphoric feeling. And Lindsay says, you know, so its validity is what you're saying, you know. And you had to pick the one guy that broke Ciara's heart multiple times. Amanda says, I didn't go for him. He pursued me. Do you guys believe that? Do you believe she pursued her? I mean, he pursued her? I don't think so. I think this was like a mutual thing, to be quite honest. But Lindsay says he said it was you. He told Ciara that you were obsessed with him, that you had a crush on him, and nothing physical had happened at that point. Amanda replies that he was actively texting me to hang out, and I would always say no. Lindsay says, this is the crap I wanted to hear at the reunion. And Amanda says, Wes was sending group texts to hang out. This is when Ciara saw her at his apartment, March 17th. But she was just hanging out, watching the game. That's all they do is hang out. They're buds. That's her boy. Remember that? And finally, Wes brought it up like, hey, is there something going on here? And she thought to herself, I don't know, wait, is there? Well, you would know. Frustrating. I'm telling you, frustrating. Also, they brought up on the aftermath the texts. Now, I slowed down the texts and read them. Yeah, he was inviting everybody to hang out. That's true. It wasn't just Amanda. He was inviting her only other friend, Katie DeLuca. I think Katie DeLuca needs a round of applause. What do you think? Katie DeLuca. She's being mentioned an awful lot throughout this reunion. So that is true. He was inviting like a whole bunch of people, not just her. So I don't know where she says he pursued her, because it was a group he was inviting. Lindsay says, he manipulated you. Lindsay is activated, and she is on the warpath to blame Wes. Hi, Carl from Louisiana. She is on the warpath to blame Wes. She says he manipulated you. Amanda's like, that's not my words. Lindsay's like, they're mine, and I'm happy to own them. Amanda says, look, we just had a conversation. There was nothing physical going on. We would text and talk about it. Lindsay says, why not shut it down right then and there and think, I'm not going to do that to Ciara? Amanda says, I was selfish. I focused on my happiness. Someone was caring about me. I don't know if any of you have seen my other podcasts about this, but I'm going to say this again. Somebody said a long time ago that an insecure person can be the most dangerous, not dangerous like, physically dangerous, but what it means is that, they kind of think of themselves, and once they start getting that attention, they might walk all over you. Sound familiar? I call it a Susie Q. That's what I call it. But Lindsay was like, what was your biggest takeaway from the reunion? This is a doozy. People, listen to this, my breakers. Amanda replies, I honestly... There's like 30 seconds of silence. I'm like, yeah, I'll keep going. She's like, I don't remember. I bet she doesn't remember. I mean, I thought we had to send SOS signals to her and Wes. Like, come back to the stage. You're in the middle of a reunion. She says, when I'm getting yelled at, I retreat, I shut down, I disassociate. I understand that. I totally understand that. But number one, she caused this. So buckle up, Buttercup. That's what I would have to say. You know? She says, I married Kyle. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with him, have kids. And when that wasn't going to happen, I thought Wes was my forever person. You know, he cares about me. He's saying the right things. And this way I wasn't going to be alone. Lindsay says, what you need is self-love and self-worth. You're doing it again with another guy. Like, why would you choose this guy? You know, he manipulates women everywhere he goes to fall in love with him. Like, have you talked about the future? Amanda says partly. Like, you know, he knew the severity and the gravity of the situation. If you care about me, this isn't going to be casual. Like, you know, I want a future. I want kids. And this is why, you know, this can't be casual. And you have to be aware of all of this. This is what she's saying. She said to Wes. And they would have conversations about this. And I guess he agreed with her because she says, I felt safe. I don't even know what to say to that, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Lindsay says, do you know how many boyfriends I've talked about marriage and kids? Like everyone I've had. Think about it. I mean, when you're dating, I'm not talking about the first date. I'm talking about like a couple months. You're going to talk about what you want in the future. This is how you find out if you're going to be compatible with this person or not. You know, you kind of, you know, feeling them out. You know what I mean? I think that's normal. I mean, didn't all of you do that? I did that when I was dating. You know, I would talk that this is, I want A, B, C. And they would say, you know, whatever they wanted. This is how you find out you're compatible. This is courting. This is dating. That's all I'm going to say. Amanda reminds Lindsay, I haven't dated since I was 24 years old. So what? Lindsay says, why don't you do that? Why don't you make the effing decision? You know, Wes is already out there embarrassing you. You know, do you know who he was on the phone with this morning? Miha. He's scared about what's going to come out. Lindsay's, you know, says, and by the way, he slept with Miha in March. Now that was a what for all of us, but not for Amanda. Okay? Because Amanda goes, She knew about it. Remember, in the reunion, Wes says, well, we were not monogamous until after the statement came out, which was what, March 19th? Till after the statement came out. So he already told Amanda that him and Miha slept together. She knew about it. This isn't a surprise. That's why he said that at the reunion. You know, Lindsay says, this guy is effing you up. Amanda says, you know, well, I'm now realizing, like, I'm waking up with the most anxiety I've ever had, that I've effed up my whole life. Lindsay says, I hope that makes you angry. No, it did not make her angry. There was no angry emotion here from Amanda. Instead, it was, I'm having a lot of feelings. I just want to be loved. Just fought for that for so long with Kyle. I felt it so much with Wes. I feel stupid. This is where she goes into victim mode, which is what she's used to being in. And everyone is used to treating her as such. And it's a real issue, Lindsay says, you should feel stupid. The only way to save yourself is separate from the sinking ship, which is West Wilson. I don't know, people. I don't know, my breakers. Lindsay says he's got to go. Amanda says, I know. Now, after they had this sit down, when the cameras were done and they went down, oh, sorry, I keep doing that. That's me. Sorry about that. Lindsay said that when the cameras went down, Amanda then told her, I'm going to Italy with Wes. So basically, what she's saying to Lindsay is, thanks for the combo, but I'm doing what I want anyway. Catch you later, sis. That's what she's saying to Lindsay after the cameras went down. She didn't say it when the cameras were up. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to wait till the cameras are down, and then I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what my plans are now. My real plans. So, this conversation was for nothing. You know what I'm saying? So 7 days later, now we're talking about May 20th. Okay, remember that. May 20th. 7 days later, they now film Wes and Kyle sitting down. So Wes comes to Kyle's apartment. And the dog is all excited and jumping up and down on Wes. And Kyle says he obviously knows you, which is really weird to me. And Kyle says, am I supposed to be supportive or punch you in the face? Like, I don't have a game plan. You texted me weeks ago, which they did show you. They showed you Wes's text to Kyle. And I thought it was a good text. I mean, I thought it was a really good text, to be quite honest. For somebody who has crapped all over him and is with his wife. Kyle says, most of our lives have been public, so I figured we're going to have this conversation. We just as well film it. But there's no agenda here. And Wes says, well, I suggested off camera. Didn't want to make it awkward. But I know my time on the camera is over. He said this. So I think Bravo, like right after the reunion, told him, you're out of here. I really do. I mean, think about it. Him and Amanda up on that stage was a joke. They weren't participating at all. I mean, Andy was like pulling answers out of these two. And it was crazy. Plus, how could they have West in the house? They couldn't have West in the house. I mean, even if Ciara wasn't there. Because nobody is going to get along with him. Everybody considers him a liar. You know what I mean? Anyway, he says, it's been my experience with people like, after a reunion that everything you do, if the reunion was bad, it lands poorly. And so I needed to gather myself to be able to film it. The process of slowing it down, processing it like it didn't happen, really till the last 2 weeks, post-reunion, post-adrenaline. When this all happened, I mean, everything was such a disaster tornado. So many layers to this, the friendship part of this. It's really hard to process. Watch it fully, implode with other people who you care about, who I care about. You know, it sucks. And when you posted that video of us playing basketball, Kyle posted a video of all the guys playing basketball in the pool. He says it's hard to know that I super fractured it. What was he expecting? What was going to happen? That all the guys would be like, oh, high five, Wes. Good job. What did he think? That Kyle was going to come up to him and be like, yo, buddy, she's yours now. No. Kyle says there was a bond and it gelled. You know? And now, like, I think Wes is lying about this, and where does that leave us? Kind of put people in an awkward spot. Wes says if I could go back and do things differently, you know I lied to you and Ciara and Mia and Lindsay and Jesse, and I'm hoping that time has passed. You hear me out. You know, I know my word is discredited, but I'm here today to have an honest conversation with you. And I do believe in a way, Wes was trying to be honest. I think even on the reunion, the times that he went to go speak, Amanda like jumped up on it. The only times they spoke, rather. And I think she was controlling the narrative there. Kyle says there's the friendships, there's the friendships on one side, and then Amanda, like no matter what, I care about her. There's still love there, and I'm worried about her. Wes says, I got that. Like, do you want full honesty, even though it could be hurtful? Kyle says, yes. At this point, there's no reason to lie. I mean, I convinced Amanda not to do the podcast. Apparently, she was getting ready to do a podcast about the Summer House aftermath. And Kyle says, she literally was about to hop on a flight when she hasn't even seen the season. Like, how are you going to speak your truth in the moment? Like, what are you doing it on? Like, you haven't even watched the season. Have you watched the season? Wes says, I will. These two. Like, who doesn't watch the season? It's like preparing for the Super Bowl of the season. That's the reunion. To not watch the season, you kind of get left out because things are filmed without you in it that you might not know about. And so when you watch it, a light bulb might go off. You know what I mean? Because we all know the light bulb went off for all of us, for the rest of the cast, for Bravo production. You know what I'm saying? The light bulb really went off this season on Summer House because we were all looking at it with a different lens. Were we not? I mean, you couldn't help it. And we could see it right in front of us. And nobody caught it. You know what I mean? And don't forget, Dumois was the one that said that there was a person cheating on their partner in the beginning of Summer House. Remember that? So, I'm just saying. But Kyle says, you guys need to. The amount of things you did to lure Ciara back in was so blatant on the screen. Like, what are your intentions? Moments and an extra long hug, a sensual touching. Like, Ciara still has feelings for you. You're a very touchy guy. There are times when I watch last summer back, and it makes me uncomfortable how touchy you were with Amanda and when we're still trying to make our marriage work. Like, this is something you need to be aware of how touchy you are. You're purely, friend. Like, what he's trying to say is stop touching people. Yeah, he does have a habit of hugging people, but there was a difference with Amanda, was there not? There was. That's not in our heads. It's not in our imagination. No, Kyle might not want to see it. And Lindsay might not want to see it, but it's there right in front of you. Wes says, after the summer ended, he's talking about Ciara. We kissed twice, I believe. We went to the Giants game together and she asked for my address and I didn't tell her. We also went to a birthday party and she asked to go out afterwards and I went home. Like, I know I haven't done the perfect job, but I would like to think that she noticed I was doing the right thing a handful of times. Kyle says you have to be 100% when you have a complicated relationship with someone. You have to learn to draw the line, and then you can't cross it. He said, now, let's start with the obvious thing. Mija. I know I've made a lot of mistakes in my relationship. This is Kyle talking. He said, but I've never had a full-blown secret girlfriend. I mean, was it open-ended with her? Wes says she was operating as if we had an exclusive relationship. I wasn't. That's unfair. I led her on. But, I did come out and tell her. Kyle says, I wanted you to admit that at the reunion, that you led her to believe that you had an exclusive relationship, had a lot of exchanges with her, wanted to have your cake and eat it too. He says, you lied to all of us about your relationship status. Wes says, I look at not leaning in, like way in, and, the communication was not correct at all. She wanted me to have Christmas with her family. I said, no, we're not in that type of relationship. That's easier than saying, I don't want to date you. I'm doing the right thing. I ended up not doing the right thing. Like, he wanted to do the right thing, but he ended up not doing the right thing. Kyle says, if you want to let's get to Amanda of it all. I worry for her. People learn about Mija, how much you lied. It's going to make her look crazy. And really crazy for ruining it all for a relationship that you guys are still figuring out. She hasn't been single. She could use some time. Focus on her. Don't you think Kyle now is like talking like he's her father? Did you notice that? He's not talking like a husband. Hi, Marianne. We're talking about Summer House, the aftermath. He's not talking to her or talking to Wes, that is. Oh, sorry. Like a husband. He's talking to her talking to him like he's her father or something. Wes says, I agree with you. Like, we had a conversation. We had multiple times. I said to her, do you think you should be single for a while? And, and not hop right into this. And he said the answer was always the same. I know it looks bad. I get it. Kyle says, I want her to be happy, but I worry you're going to break her heart. Wes says, Lindsay texted that. I get that you feel that way. Like every other relationship I've had a commitment phobia. I have not had good relationships. I'm not going to sit on this couch and convince you that I'm a changed person. That's a red flag right there, people. Words right out of his mouth. He says, I'm not a perfect person, but my relationship with Amanda comes from a steady 3-year friendship. Nothing performative about it. No one's trying to prove anything. I know who she is. She knows who I am. I regret so many things. I cannot regret my feelings for Amanda. These developing feelings and caring about her, I won't apologize for that. It happened. Kyle says, do you think you're ready to be in a committed relationship? Like, where you're faithful? Wes says, yeah, I do. Kyle says, do you love her? Wes replies, yeah. I said I love you right there in your bathroom at the house for the first time. Now, this right here, bells should be going off right here for everyone when he said this. Listen, breakers, he's telling Kyle, I told Amanda I loved her for the first time in their bathroom, Kyle and Amanda's bathroom at the summer house. Remember when he went in there with a sock? And I think he was trying to cover the microphone or something. That's when he said to her, I love you. These two have been going, I'm not saying anything was physical. I'm not going to say that. But this emotional relationship has been going on before even the summer. Amanda even said to Ciara that her and Wes had only gone out for drinks a couple times. She was talking about during the summer. And they text all the time. This also answers my question that I thought was going on, which was, remember when there was that fight with Kyle and Carl? And, Wes was like pulling Amanda off or whatever. Then he just walked through the house and then because, he got Amanda away from him. Amanda went somewhere. So he walks through the house. He goes through to the front door. He sits down and he starts texting right away. And I'm thinking, who's he texting in the middle of all this chaos? Amanda. He was texting Amanda. Bet your bottom dollar about that one. I'm just saying. Anyway, Kyle says, how long have you had feelings for her? Wes says, listen, the timeline, everyone wants to go back to the show. Kyle says, hold on. Like, there's love and there's in love. Like, the one thing that gave me peace about our separation is that I fell out of love. The way you said I love you to Amanda, it's like the same way I say I love you to Lindsay. Wes says, I haven't gotten to the point where I've told her or myself that I'm in love or not, but I do love her and I've cared for her for a long time. It's hard to say that to your face. And I look forward to the way I do care and treat Amanda. I mean, Kyle's face was like, what? I don't think Kyle was expecting Wes to say that to him. He says, I don't want you to worry that you have, or the thought that this is just a joke, no matter how this shakes out. But I do appreciate you talking to me today. Kyle says, it's a weird feeling. Like, I care about you. I care about Amanda. Wes says, you didn't ask for it. That's why it sucks. Kyle says, to do all this in the public eye is crazy. It's been an emotional couple months, and I feel like you owe Mija an apology. Wes says, I owe a lot of people apologies, which means she's not going to get one. Crazy, right? But I do think he's telling the truth, in the sense that he did tell her, I love you. I do think he has real feelings for Amanda. Wes has never been in love before. So he's like, I don't know, am I in love or not? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not, I don't know. What's that feel like? All I know is that I love her. And I do believe that. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that. But can they last? No. They're not going to last. I would be shocked. But I have a lot to say about that. But we'll keep going. Now, this is 7 days later from this convo. Okay? We're talking now May 27th. All right? Remember that. May 27th. And by the way, this is when Wes and Amanda went to Italy. Now, I don't know if you heard me before, but you know, when you have a destination wedding, you have to respond to that months in advance. You don't just like pop up and have a destination wedding and just say, bring whoever you want. It doesn't work that way. These two planned this. This was planned a long time ago. I'm just saying. Anyway, this is May 27th, and yes, this is when Amanda and Wes left for Italy. This is also now when the cameras go to Ciara's apartment, and Mija comes to visit. Ciara says, how you doing? Mija says, pretty much in shock. What about you? Ciara says, we're surviving and thriving. But thriving, it depends on the day. Ciara says, I'm sorry that you had to see the footage of us kissing. Mija says, that's not your fault whatsoever. It did take the air out of my lungs. Mija was in it to win it in this relationship. And I don't know, is she the type of girl that kind of clings on like a five-finger clinger, you know what I mean? Or did he literally lie to her the whole time? Think about this. I mean, he was telling her, yeah, go ahead, stay at the apartment. Did he tell her to stay at the apartment because he's not there, so he doesn't care? And then when he gets back, they have a little cuddle, and then she goes back home? Is that the case? I'm just saying. But Ciara says, when you were at his house over the summer and they recap the weekend, Mija says, anytime I would go over there, we would hang out. She says, I would be some weekends where he was going, And he would be like, stick around for the weekend. I'll see you when I get back. Absolutely. She says, I recently moved. I don't have a whole lot to go back to in Philly. I work remote, so it was convenient to be there. Also, he had just moved out of his old apartment into his new apartment. I love to decorate. She said, I told him I'd help him. I'd love to stay. And let's be clear, his apartment he has now, I did not style it. She had to throw that in there. She says, I typically give partners a long leash. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm constantly checking on the other person for everything. If I like you, I trust you, but apparently I should not have. Probably won't be that way in the future. Ciara says, have you been in contact at all? And Miha says, we hadn't spoken for a few weeks. After the reunion, he texted me, you win. What is that supposed to mean? You win. You win. Is it because she constantly was like, why do I have to be a secret? Like, what does that mean? You win. That's unsettling, don't you think? That's unsettling. Anyway, Ciara says, what are you winning? Mia says, this isn't a game. Ciara says, because people knew about you. We took it upon ourselves to figure it out, like who this girl is. You were hiding on the side of the story. There's not a lot of physical evidence of your relationship, but there's evidence of your relationship. And they recap when Jesse and Wes were in the bedroom. And Jesse says, this is probably in the beginning of the summer. And Jesse says, so do you have a girlfriend? And Wes is like, nah, I don't have a girlfriend. Jesse's like, I don't know. I keep seeing the same name popping up all the time. Like, don't lie to me, They start laughing. And then there was this unseen footage that they played where Jesse says to Wes, how's Mia doing? So in this time frame, he definitely saw her because now Jesse is really aware of him or of her, aware of her enough to say, how is Mia doing? You know what I mean? And even production asked him in his, interview, they asked, is there any girl that you're seeing? Wes responds that the girl that Jesse's talking about lives in Montana. Okay. Since when is Manhattan, Montana? I'm just saying. Mia says, after the whole you win thing, it took him a week. Then he called me. We had the 6-hour conversation. A lot of our conversations now are over a phone because of her. He doesn't want any evidence left behind. So don't text me because of her. He doesn't want any evidence left behind. So don't text me. Amanda was going. Him going with Amanda is an F you to everyone involved. It's such a big F me who has been taking his phone calls and trying to understand him. Ciara says, you didn't exist. You weren't important. As he says, so why is he still calling you if he's in a happy relationship? Can you just admit, like, you blew up your whole effing lives? I mean, effing honestly, we know Wes. Think of the secrecy for him, hiding in plain sight. That was the most thrilling thing for him. That's why he liked it. Secret sex is kind of hot. Ciara says, I've never done it. I've never effed my best friend's ex. Mija says, no, because that's evil. She says, with Wes and I's relationship, I kind of love that this is a secret. I thought I was in on it, but I wasn't. He would travel, we would leave, come back together, and no one would know. It was fun, kinky, secretive. Sorry about that. But Ciara says, but now everything is moving forward, is public. Mija says, I have to sever the cord. After that Italy thing, like seriously, I had a real like come to Jesus moment with myself. I'm not going to roll over and act like I don't exist and stay extremely silent. What did you think was going to happen in the end? Ciara says, we had to make this summer fun and light. We are trauma bonded. Mija says, I like trauma bonded. Very much in support of it. Wes and Amanda are trauma bonded too, but I'm like, ours is fun. It'll outlast their relationship. She says, but we have to kiss courtside. She says, he brought us together just far too late. That's where it ended. So what do you guys think? Listen, they're still lying. I'm going to tell you right now, Wes and Amanda, oh yeah, they're still lying, 100%. They're still lying to everybody. I mean, look what Amanda did just with Lindsay alone. Think about it. I mean, she goes through this whole conversation where Lindsay's trying to like pump her up, like, get away from him. He's embarrassing you. He's manipulating you. I mean, and Lindsay's going for the jugular here, and Amanda's like playing the poor victim, the poor me role. And as soon as those cameras went down, not when they were still up, she tells Lindsay, oh, by the way, I'm going to Italy with Wes. So that whole conversation was for nothing. Now, Wes's conversation with Kyle, I think it answered a lot of questions for Kyle. I also now understand his difference in attitude when he did that interview, when he said, my patience is running thin and, she can have her boyfriend come pick up her stuff. There was a difference in attitude with him, and I think this is why. Because now Kyle's putting all the pieces together and he's realizing out of Wes's mouth, these two had something going on all summer. Listen, Wes and Amanda, this is just my opinion, Wes and Amanda, they continue to lie to everyone. These two are manipulators. I mean, Amanda manipulates everyone to think that Kyle's this big bad husband. No, he wasn't perfect. But I mean, look what happened at that table. The freedom dinner, and everyone's going at Kyle, like yelling at him about, this Vegas gig. And she knew everything. They had talked about it already. And everyone is giving him crap because they think it's a residency. And it was just a one-night gig. And she sat there and didn't say a word. That's when Kyle turned around and said, F you. That's why he said it to her. I'm not condoning that. But that's why he said it to her. Because he looked at her and he was like, everyone's coming at me. And you're not saying one thing. You're not turning around and saying, hold up, guys. I knew about this. This isn't a residency. This is just a one-day gig. But she never said a word because she wanted to play the victim. See? It's that insecurity. Everyone's showing her attention. Everyone's sticking up for her. that like fills her need of insecurity. Look at Wes. He's lied to everyone. Now, I don't think he's insecure, but he's a good manipulator. He manipulated Mija. He manipulated Ciara. He's manipulated all these girls. I agree with Lindsay on that one. So maybe these two were meant to be together. Listen, Amanda and Wes has lied to the whole cast, to all the viewers. Think about it. And by the way, that whole New Year's thing, I truly believe that was her jacket. I do believe they spent New Year's together. If you watch that video on TikTok, the way he is dancing in front of whoever's holding the camera, it's her. And there's her jacket right there in front. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, let's just chat about the fact that since they've come back from Italy, they've been hanging out, spending time together all over the city. They let people take pictures of them left and right. They're not hiding anymore. They're happy-go-lucky. Now, according to Dumois, an inside person there is saying that there's trouble on the home front. When they got back from Italy, things were rocky. And so, you know, there's tension there. Hello? Of course there's tension. It could look like it's rocky because she's a nagger. We've seen it a million times with Kyle, and it's probably doing the same thing with him. We saw it at the Yankees game. Wes was standing up, yelling, cheering on the game, and she's like pulling him down, like, sit down, sit down, sit down. And then she says, pretend like you like me. That's that insecurity. And because they're so insecure, like they got to be in control of everything. No, don't do that. No, don't go over there. No, don't do this. But this is the same person, by the way, where there's a photograph of her spitting her food in his mouth in Italy. Oh, gross. It's disgusting. Don't you think? Ugh. Do you think they're going to make it? I don't think they're going to make it. But then again, I mean, they could. They could very well make it. I mean, listen, Amanda and Wes, they're liars. They're manipulators, both of them. Maybe they're made for each other. We'll see. But what we do know is that Wes is not joining the Summer House cast this summer. There was a door maybe left open for a cameo, but I don't think so. But no one's chatting about Amanda. And I think that Kyle and Lindsay, they're going to go to battle for her. You know, he doesn't want to see her lose her paycheck. Lindsay's completely convinced that the big bad Wes manipulated the poor little lamb. So they're probably going to battle for her to come back to Summer House. What do you guys think? But will she be back? I mean, you know, it'd be kind of interesting if Mija joined the cast and they brought Amanda back. Now that would be interesting because she would have to confront Mija and eventually get all the deets on Wes from Mija. And in the meantime, Ciara might pop in. Now, Ciara would not film with Wes, but she didn't say anything about Amanda. So would they have finally their one-on-one and get it out? It could be a good show. That could be how Bravo's looking at it. What do you guys think? I'm just saying. You know? But guess we're going to have to wait for the cast to be finalized because according to the producer, it will not be finalized till the end of June, which means, by the way, the following week they start filming. And I'm pretty sure everyone is coming back but Wes so far. And I do think Amanda might come back. She is one in the city. I do think Kyle and Lindsay will fight for her to be back. So, what do you guys think? I think she'll be back. But I think it'd be interesting if they brought me on to the cast. I think she would fit in personally. What do you guys think? I think it would be great. So let's get into Real Housewives of New Jersey real quick, shall we? Don't know if you all know this or not, but Melania was arrested. Crazy, right? And let's see here. Because I don't want to give you something that's not true. She was charged with simple assault. This charge is classified as a disorderly person's offense under New Jersey law and stems from alleged domestic dispute on May 14th around 6:12 p.m. Under New Jersey law, this is a lower level criminal offense, but still carries potential penalties. She appeared in court May 19th, did not enter a plea, so the case is still active. In the incident context, the police responded to a report dispute at a residence in Montville. So let's just talk about what happened here, okay? Because the description of simple assault is allegedly caused bodily injury purposely or knowingly to another person. So let's put it this way. We know Teresa was there. Maybe her sisters were there. We know she was there. So the other person in the house we'll call Big Al, okay? And Big Al apparently has had a lot to say over the years, okay? And we know this. I mean, Big Al got into social media, allegedly. I'll throw allegedly on there. That's why New Jersey didn't film for so long. That's why Margaret wasn't coming back. She was offered, and she said absolutely not. So for all the tree huggers that think that Margaret wasn't coming back, that she was fired, she was not fired. But what happens is that when the police come in, if they see the incident or they see results of the incident, let's say bruises on somebody, or they can see that the incident occurred, it's not up to Big Al to press charges because Big Al doesn't want to press charges. But it's out of Big Al's hands because now it's under New Jersey, and the state of New Jersey is pressing the charges because the police officers saw whatever they saw that says, yes, she did this, and that's why she was arrested. Now, when they go to court, I'm sure she'll get a slap on the wrist, and Big Al is certainly not going to, press charges or insure charges or keep going, you know what I mean? But this has not been good. This has been a buildup in the house, and according to a little birdie, I'm just going to say a little birdie, allegedly, Melania didn't want to go back to Tampa to school, okay? And originally, Teresa said, well, you can come home. You can go to college here. We saw this on TikTok. So I think that tensions and things have been building throughout the house. This was just the final straw. Because allegedly, Big Al said, you're going back. It's not what Melania wanted to hear. She's like, why is Big Al making all the decisions for this family? Big Al says, I'm telling you right now, you're going back. Melania looks at her mother. She says, aren't you going to say something? And apparently, according to the little birdie, allegedly, Teresa said nothing. And this is how this occurred. This was the build-up. She has not been back at the house. Melania has been staying, couch surfing. I think she probably went to her sister's initially, Gia, and then she went to her grandmother's. We know she went to her father's in the Bahamas. Apparently, she was also staying with her cousin. That's her cousin on her father's side. And I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. You know what I mean? I really don't. Because this is rocking this household. Big Al has slowly been separating people very slowly and taking control of everything. That's my opinion. And we also know that this season of RHONJ, the whole goal, Teresa's goal, was to make sure that Big Al was seen as a good guy. He's really a good guy. She wants everybody to see it. The whole cast, the whole world. He's really a good guy. Problem with Big Al is you just never know what's coming out of his mouth, what he's going to say, what he's going to do. And this is proof. So that kind of blew it. Now, this was not filmed. However, you can't tell me that the cast is not talking about it. And that's not being filmed. And I'm sure that Melissa is going to be like, oh, I can't talk about this. This is family stuff, I can't be a part of this. Give me a break. Big Al's been coming after you. You just don't want to see it because you'll turn a blind eye because you want a paycheck. But yeah, Big Al's not going to come off as a good guy. Let's just put it that way. And this has caused a huge rift in this family. A huge rift. We don't know who called the police. Was it one of her sisters? Was it Big Al? Did Big Al tell them to call the police? Now, I know that there are stories out there, allegedly from Big Al's, camp, putting out stories of substance abuse. I'm not seeing that here. Listen, this 20-year-old girl has a father that she is very close to. I can't imagine that the statement, you're not my father, you can't tell me what to do, has not come out of her mouth. I can't imagine that. As much as she loves her mother, she's not going to be bullied. She's not going to be told what to do. She's not going to sit quiet because that's the right thing to do. Melania walks to a different beat. She's always been She's always been her own person. We've seen her as she's grown up. But now it's a shame that this family has been torn. But let me tell you something. Big Al has been causing trouble in that family for a long time. This was a buildup. And Melania just didn't take it anymore. And listen, I totally get it, by the way, that she doesn't want to go back to Tampa. I have a child the same age in sophomore year of college that came home and said, I'd like to take a gap year. I'm like, no. You're not taking a gap year. I said the same thing. But I think the difference is that Big Al has been saying a lot more. He has been making decisions for the family. He wants to manage everybody's careers in the family. He wants to take over that. And his wife is, yes, dear, whatever you want, dear. No problem, dear. And all of that on the season of RHONJ is not going to show Big Al in a great light at all. So that idea, that little bubble just got busted. I'm just saying. What do you guys think? I loved being with you today. Make sure you check out my podcast. Before you leave here, make sure you like, follow, hop over to my YouTube at Break the Dish over there, and make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my other podcasts. But I will see my breakers soon. Take care and have a great evening.